There was once a queen who had a little daughter. The daughter was still too young to walk by herself. One day, the child was very difficult, and the mother could not calm her down, no matter what she did. The queen became angry. She saw some ravens flying around the castle, and she opened the window. She said, "I wish you were a raven and would fly away. Then I would have some peace." As soon as the queen said this, the child in her arms changed into a raven and flew away through the open window. The bird flew to a dark forest and stayed there for a long time. During this time, the parents did not hear anything about their child. A long time later, a man was walking through the forest when he heard a raven calling. He followed the sound of the voice. As he came closer, the raven said, "I am a king's daughter, but now I am under a magic spell. You can set me free." "What do I have to do?" the man asked. The raven said, "Go deeper into the forest until you find a house. An old woman lives there. She will offer you food and drink, but you must not take anything. If you do, you will fall into a deep sleep and will not be able to help me. In the garden behind the house, there is a big pile of leaves. You must stand there and wait for me. I will come in my carriage at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for 3 days. The first day, the carriage will have 4 white horses. The second day, it will have 4 brown horses. On the last day, it will have 4 black horses. But if you fall asleep, I will not be free." The man promised to do everything she asked. But the raven said, "Oh no. I know you will take something from the woman and will not be able to help me." The man told her again that he would not eat or drink anything. When he got to the house and went inside, the old woman met him. She said, "Poor man, you look so tired. Come in and rest. Let me give you something to eat and drink." "No," said the man. "I will not eat or drink." But the old woman kept asking him. She said, "If you will not eat, you can at least have a drink of wine. One drink won't hurt." Finally, the man agreed and drank the wine. When it was time, the man went outside to the garden and stood on the pile of leaves, waiting for the raven. Suddenly, he felt very tired, and even though he tried to stay awake, he lay down to rest. Soon, his eyes closed, and he fell into a deep sleep. At 2 o'clock, the raven came in her carriage pulled by 4 white horses. But before she got there, she said to herself with a sigh, "I know he is asleep." When she came into the garden, she found him, just as she thought, sleeping on the pile of leaves. She got out of the carriage and went to him. She called him and shook him, but he kept sleeping. The next day at noon, the old woman came to the man again with food and drink. At first, he refused to take anything. But after she asked him many times to eat or drink something, he finally gave in. He took the glass and drank again. At 2 o'clock, he went to the garden and stood on the pile of leaves to wait for the raven. But soon, he started to feel very tired. His body felt so heavy that he couldn't stand anymore. So, again, he lay down and fell fast asleep. The raven came in her carriage, pulled by 4 brown horses, and sadly said to herself, "I know he is sleeping again." She went to look for him, but he was still asleep, and she couldn't wake him up. The next day, the old woman asked him, "Why are you not eating or drinking? Do you want to die?" He replied, "I must not eat or drink." But she put food and a glass of wine in front of him. When he smelled the wine, he couldn't stop himself, and he drank a lot. When it was time, he went to the garden to wait for the king's daughter. But this time, he felt even more tired than on the other days. He lay down and slept deeply. At 2 o'clock, the raven came again, but now her carriage, horses, and even her coachman were all black. She was even sadder than before and said, "I know he is sleeping again, and he cannot save me." She found him still sleeping and couldn't wake him up. She placed beside him some bread, meat, and a bottle of wine. These were special because no matter how much he ate or drank, they would never run out. Then, she took off a gold ring with her name on it and put it on his finger. She also left a letter. In the letter, she explained about the food and drink. She also wrote, "I see that you cannot free me while you stay here. But if you still want to help me, come to the Golden Castle of Stromberg. You can do this." After leaving the letter, she got back in her carriage and went to the Golden Castle of Stromberg. When the man woke up and saw that he had been sleeping, he felt very sad. He said, "She has been here and has gone again. Now it's too late to save her." Then he noticed the things left beside him. He read the letter and understood everything. He stood up quickly, ready to start his journey to the castle of Stromberg. But he didn't know which way to go. He traveled for a long time, trying to find the castle. Finally, he came to a dark forest. He walked through the forest for 14 days, but still could not find a way out. Another night came, and he was so tired that he lay down under a bush and fell asleep. The next day, he kept walking through the forest. That evening, he lay down again to rest, but he heard loud howling and crying. It was too noisy to sleep. He waited until it got darker, and people began to light their houses. Then, he saw a small light far away and walked toward it. The man saw that the light came from a house. It looked small because a giant stood in front of it. The man thought, "If the giant sees me, he will kill me." But after a while, the man got brave and went forward. When the giant saw him, he said, "It is good that you are here. I have not eaten for a long time. Now I can eat you for dinner." The man replied, "Please don't eat me. I have food that will make you full." The giant said, "If that's true, I won't eat you. I only wanted to eat you because I had no other food." So they went inside the house and sat down. The man gave the giant bread, meat, and wine. Even though the man had already eaten and drunk from them, the food and drink never finished. The giant was very happy with the meal and ate until he was full. After eating, the man asked the giant if he knew where the castle of Stromberg was. The giant said, "Let me check my map. It shows all the towns, villages, and houses." The giant looked at the map, but he couldn't find the castle. "Don't worry," he said, "I have bigger maps upstairs. Let's look at those." But even on the bigger maps, they couldn't find the castle. The man wanted to continue his journey, but the giant asked him to stay for a few more days until his brother returned with more food. When the brother came home, they asked him about the castle of Stromberg. The brother said, "Let me eat first, and then I will look at my maps." After the brother had eaten, they looked through his maps, but they couldn't find the castle. Finally, they found an old map that showed the castle, but it was very far away, thousands of miles. The man asked, "How can I get there?" The giant replied, "I have 2 hours of free time. I will carry you close to the castle. After that, you will have to walk the rest of the way." The giant carried the man very far, to a place about 100 leagues, 300 miles, from the castle. The giant left him there, saying, "You can walk the rest of the way." The man traveled day and night until he reached the golden castle of Stromberg. But the castle was on a glass mountain. When he looked up, he saw the enchanted princess riding around the castle and going inside. He was very happy to see her and wanted to get to the top of the mountain. But the mountain was so slippery that every time he tried to climb, he fell back down. He felt sad and said, "I will stay here and wait for her." He built a small hut and stayed there for a whole year. Every day, he saw the king's daughter riding around her castle, but he could never reach her. One day, he saw 3 robbers fighting. He called out, "God be with you." The robbers stopped for a moment, but didn't see him, so they went back to fighting. The man called out again, "God be with you," and again they stopped, but didn't see anyone. A third time, the man called out, and then he went to ask the robbers why they were fighting. One robber said, "I found a stick. If I hit any door with this stick, it will open." Another robber said, "I found a cloak. When I wear it, I become invisible." The third robber said, "I found a horse that can carry me over anything, even up the glass mountain." They were fighting because they couldn't decide whether to share these things or to keep them for themselves. The man said, "I will give you something better in exchange for these 3 things. But first, I need to see if they really work." The robbers agreed. The man got on the horse, took the stick and the cloak, and became invisible when he wore the cloak. Then, he hit them with the stick and said, "You lazy robbers. This is what you deserve." The robbers ran away. After that, the man rode the horse up the glass mountain. When he reached the castle gate, it was closed. He hit the gate with the stick, and it opened right away. He went inside the castle and climbed the stairs. He saw the princess sitting in a room with a golden cup of wine in front of her. She couldn't see him because he was still wearing the invisible cloak. The man took off the ring she had given him and dropped it into her cup. When the ring hit the bottom of the cup, it made a sound. The princess said, "That is my ring. If my ring is here, the man who will save me must be here too." She looked all around the castle, but couldn't find him. Meanwhile, the man went outside, took off the cloak, and got on his horse. When the princess came to the castle gate, she saw him and cried with joy. The man got off his horse, took her in his arms, and kissed her. She said, "Now you have set me free. Tomorrow we will get married."